Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Vaishnavi, Hare Krishna. You can say the pranam mantra.
Yes, Mataji, one second. Mataji, should I say without sharing screen or should I share the screen?
You can say without sharing the screen.
Okay, Mataji. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaya Kadamahyam Dadanti Sabadantikam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Saujanya, you can start, ma.
Yes, Mataji. Further traits of Sri Krishna. After describing the different opulences of Krishna, Srila Rupa Goswami tries to further describe the transcendental beauties and qualities of Lord as decorated, enjoying, pleasing, dependable, steady, and predominating. He is also described as a meticulous dresser and a magnanimous personality. These are generally considered to be the qualities of great personalities. Decorated. It is said that a person is great if he is decorated with the qualities of being very merciful towards the unfortunate, very powerful, superior, chivalrous, enthusiastic, expert, and truthful. These decorations were manifested in the character of Krishna during his Govardhan Lila. At that time, the whole tract of land in Vrindavana was being distributed by the rains sent by Indra, as described elsewhere. At first, Krishna thought, let me retaliate against this vengeance of Indra by destroying his heavenly kingdom. But later on, when he thought of the insignificance of the king of heaven, Krishna changed his mind and felt merciful towards Indra. No one is able to tolerate the wrath of Krishna. So instead of retaliating against Indra, he simply showed his compassion for his friends in Vrindavana by lifting the whole of Govardhana hill to protect them. Enjoying. When a person is seen to be always happy and is accustomed to speak smilingly, he is considered to be in the mode of enjoyment. This trait was found in Krishna when he appeared at this sacrificial arena of King Kamsa. It is described that the lotus-eyed Krishna entered among the wrestlers without being impolite to them, glanced over them with determination, and seemed to them just like an elephant attacking some plants. Even while speaking to them, Krishna was still smiling, and in this way he stood valiantly upon the wrestling dais. Pleasing. When one's characteristics are very sweet and desirable, his personality is called pleasing. An example of Krishna's pleasing nature is first described in Srimad Bhagavatam. One day, while Krishna was awaiting the arrival of Srimati Radharani by the bank of Yamuna, he began to make a garland of Kadamba flowers. In the meantime, Srimati Radharani appeared there, and at that time, Murari Krishna, the enemy of Mura, glanced over Radharani very sweetly. Dependable. Any person who is reliable in all circumstances is dependable. In this connection, Rupa Goswami says that even the demons were relying upon the dependability of Krishna because they were confident that Krishna would never attack them without due cause. Therefore, with faith and confidence, they used to live with their doors wide open, and the demigods, although afraid of the demons, were confident of the protection of the Krishna. Therefore, even in the midst of danger, they were engaged in sportive activities. Persons who had never undergone the reformatory ritualistic ceremonies of the Vedas were confident that Krishna would accept only faith and devotion, and so they were engaged in Krishna consciousness and were freed from all anxieties. In other words, all kinds of men, from the demigods down to the uncultured, can rely on the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord. Steady. A person who is not disturbed even in a situation of reverses is called steady. This steadiness was observed in Krishna in connection with his chastising the demon known as Bana. The Bana demon had many hands, and Krishna was cutting off these hands one after the other. This Bana was a great devotee of Lord Shiva and the goddess Durga. Thus, when Bana was being chastised, Lord Shiva and Durga became very furious at Krishna, but Krishna did not care for them. Predominating. A person who can affect the mind of everyone is called predominating. As far as Krishna's predomination is concerned, in the 10th canto, 43rd chapter, verse 17 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna is described thus by Sukadeva Goswami to King Parikshit. My dear King Krishna, Krishna is a thunderbolt to the restless. To the common man, he is the most beautiful human being. To the young girls, he is just like a cupid. To the cowherd men and women, he is the most intimate relative. To the impious kings, he is the supreme ruler. To his parents Nanda and Yashoda, he is just a baby. To Kamsa, the king of Bhoja, he is the death personified. To the dull and stupid, he is just like a stone. To the yogis, he is the supreme absolute truth. And to the Vrishnis, is it correct, Mataji? Mataji, you are not audible.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Is
Yes,
it correct to Vrishnis, Mataji?
Sorry. Where are
Here,
you?
Mataji. There. He is the supreme personality before that. Vrishnis.
Krishnis. Yes.
Correct. What does it mean, Mataji?
It's a clan actually.
Okay. He is the
Particular clan.
Okay. Shall I continue, Mataji?
Yes.
He is the supreme personality of Godhead. In such a predominating position, Krishna appeared in that arena along with his older brother Balrama. When Krishna, the reservoir of all mellows, was present in the arena of Kamsa, he appeared differently to the different persons who were related to him in different mellows. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that he appears to every person according to one's relationship with him. Sometimes learned scholars describe predominating to mean a person intolerant of being neglected. This peculiarity in Krishna was visible when Kamsa was insulting Maharaja Nanda. Vasudeva was asking Krishna's assistance in killing Kamsa, and Krishna was glancing over Kamsa with longing eyes, just like a prostitute, and was just preparing to jump at the king. Meticulous dresser. A person who is very fond of dressing himself is called Lalita, or a meticulous dresser. This characteristic was found in Krishna in two ways. Sometimes he used to decorate Srimati Radharani with various marks, and sometimes he was preparing to kill demons like Arishtasura. He would take care to arrange his belt very nicely. Magnanimous. Persons who can give themselves to anyone are called magnanimous. No one could be more magnanimous than Krishna because he is always prepared to give himself completely to his devotee. Even to one who is not a devotee, Krishna in his form of Lord Chaitanya is prepared to give himself and to grant deliverance. Although Krishna is independent of everyone, out of his causeless mercy, he is dependent upon Garga Rishi for his religious instruction. For learning the military art, he is dependent upon Satyaki. And for good counsel, he is dependent upon his friend Uddhava. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we have completed yesterday's. You couldn't read, no, yesterday.
Mataji, there was one line in the last chapter. Can you please show again?
Yeah, I'll just show you. Okay.
At the last, it was there. According to one relationship. That can you please just up roll side, please?
Mm-hmm. This.
Yeah, it is stated in Bhagavad Gita that he appears to every person according to one relationship with him. Mataji, what does it mean?
This refers to the 5 types of rasas. Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, Madhurya rasa we have, no?
Yeah, Mataji.
Friend, lover, as a progeny, like what devotee, like what rasa you have with the Lord, as per that he will appear to them accordingly. For Yashoda Maya, he's a small boy. For gopis, he's a different person. For Sudama, he's a different person, isn't it?
Okay, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Next. Is it visible? I need to increase the font size.
Yes, Mataji, it's perfect. Can I read, Mataji?
Yes.
Chapter 25, Devotees of Krishna. A person who is always absorbed in Krishna consciousness is called a devotee of Krishna. Srila Rupa Goswami says that all the transcendental qualities discussed previously are also found in the devotees of Krishna. The devotees of Krishna can be classified into two groups. Those who are cultivating devotional service in order to enter into the transcendental kingdom, and those who are already in the perfectional stage of devotional service. A person who has attained the stage of attraction for Krishna and who is not freed from the material impasse, but who has qualified himself to enter into the kingdom of God is called a sadhaka. Sadhaka means one who is cultivating devotion.
Sadhaka. It is sadhaka.
Sadhaka, okay, Mataji. Sadhaka means one who is cultivating devotion and Krishna consciousness. The description of such a great devotee is found in the 11th canto, 2nd chapter, verse 46 of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is said there that a person who has unflinching faith in and love for the personality of Godhead, who is in friendship with devotees of Krishna, and who is very merciful to the ignorant, raising them to the standard of devotional service, and who is uninterested in non-devotees and is considered to be situated in the position of cultivating devotional service. When one is found shedding tears by hearing of the pastime of the Lords, it is understood that the blazing fire of material existence will be extinguished by such watering. When there is shivering of the body and hairs, body and the hairs of the body stand up. It is to be understood that a devotee is nearing perfection. An example of sadhaka cultivating devotional service is Bilvamangala Thakura. When a devotee is never tired of executing devotional service and is always engaged in Krishna conscious activities, constantly relishing the transcendental mellows in relationship with Krishna, he is called perfect. This perfectional state can be achieved in two ways. One may be achieved this stage of perfection by gradual progress in devotional service, or one may become perfect in the causeless mercy of Krishna, even though he has not executed all the details of the devotional service. There is the following nice statement in the 3rd canto, 15th chapter, verse 25, Srimad Bhagavatam, describing a devotee who achieves perfection by regularly executing devotional service. A person who is freed from the false egotism of material existence or an advanced mystic is eligible to enter into the kingdom of God, known as Vaikuntha. Such a mystic becomes so joyful by constant execution of the regulative principles of devotional service that he thereby achieves the special favor of the Supreme Lord. Yamaraja, the mighty superintendent of death, is afraid to go near such a devotee. So we can imagine the potency of advanced devotional service, especially when devotees sit together and engage in the talking of pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those devotees express their feelings in such a way that they automatically melt with ecstasy, and many transcendental symptoms become manifested in their bodies. Anyone desiring advancement in devotional service must follow in the footsteps of such devotees. Prahlad Maharaj said that no one can attain the perfection stage of devotion without going down before exalted devotees. Learned sages like Markandeya, Rishi attained perfection in devotional service simply by executing such regulative principles of service.
Hare Krishna. Somebody
Hare
else can start reading from here.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes.
A person's achieving perfection in devotional service simply by the causeless mercy of the Lord is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam in connection with the Brahmanas and their wives who were engaged in performing yajna or sacrifice. When the wives of the Brahmanas were favored by Lord Krishna and immediately attained the ecstasy of love of Godhead, their husbands said, "How wonderful it is that although these women have undertaken no reformatory performances, such as accepting this sacred thread, have not resided in the monasteries of the spiritual master, have not observed the strict principles of celibacy, have not undergone any austerities, and have not philosophized upon the observance of ritualistic ceremonies, they still have attained the favor of Krishna, which is aspired of after even by great mystics. How wonderful it is that these women have attained such perfection, while we, although Brahmanas who have performed the reformatory activities, cannot attain this advanced stage. There is similar statement by Narada addressed to Sukadeva Goswami. My dear Sukadeva Goswami, you never took the trouble to reside under the care of a spiritual master, and yet you have attained such a great status of transcendental knowledge. You never took the trouble to undergo severe austerities, and still, how wonderful it is that you have been situated in the most perfect stage of love of Godhead. Sukadeva Goswami and the wives of the Brahmanas performing yajna are vivid examples of devotees who achieved the perfectional stage of devotional service by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Eternal perfection. The persons who have achieved eternal blissful life exactly on the level of Sri Krishna and who are able to attract Lord Krishna by their transcendental loving service are called eternally perfect. The technical name is Nitya Siddha. There are two classes of living entities, namely Nitya Siddha and Nitya Baddha. The destination is that
Distinction. That means the differentiation.
Yeah. The distinction is that the Nitya Siddhas are eternally Krishna conscious without any forgetfulness, whereas the Nitya Baddhas or eternally conditioned souls are forgetful or their relationship with or eternally conditioned soul are forgetful of their relationship with Krishna. The position of Nitya Siddha is explained in the Padma Purana in connection with the narration of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Satyabhama Devi. The Lord tells Satyabhama, "My dear Satyabhama Devi, I have descended to this earthly planet by the request of Lord Brahma and other demigods. Those who are born into this family of Yadu are all my eternal associates. My dear wife, you should not consider that my associates are never separated from me. They are my personal expansions, and as such, you must know that they are almost as powerful as I am. Because of their transcendental qualities, they are very, very dear to me, as I am very, very dear to them. anyone who becomes exhilarated by hearing of the pastimes of Lord Krishna when he was present on this earth with his associates is to be understood as Nitya Siddha, eternally perfect. In the 10th canto, 14th chapter, verse 32 of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is this statement: how wonderful are the fortunate residents of Vrindavana, such as Nanda and other cowherd men. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Brahman, has actually become their intimate friend. A similar statement is there in the 10th canto, 26th chapter, verse 10 of Srimad Bhagavatam. When Lord Krishna lifted Govardhana hill, the cowherd men, under the protection of Lord Krishna, became struck with wonder and went to Nanda Maharaj, inquired for him. My dear Nanda Maharaja, how is it that we are so intensely attached to Krishna and that Krishna is also so affectionately attached to us? Does it mean that he is the super soul of everyone? All the residents of Vrindavana and Dwaraka, namely the cowherdmen and the members of Yadu family, are eternally perfect devotees of Lord. As the Lord descends by his causeless mercy upon this planet, so in order to help in the pastimes of the Lord, these devotees also come here. They are not ordinary living entities or conditioned souls. They are ever liberated persons associated of the personality of Godhead. And just as Lord Krishna behaves like an ordinary man when he descends to this planet, so the members of the Yadu dynasty and the residents of Vrindavana execute activities just like ordinary men. But they are not ordinary men. They are as liberated as Krishna himself. In the Padma Purana, Uttarakanda section, it is stated, just as Lord Ramachandra descends along with Lakshmana, an expansion of Sankarshana, and Bharata, an expansion of Pradyumna, so the member of the Yadu dynasty and cowherd men of Vrindavana also descend with Lord Krishna in order to join in the transcendental pastimes of Lord. When the Supreme Lord returns to his eternal abode, his associates return with him to their respective places. As such, these ever liberated Vaishnavas are not bound by the material laws of birth and death.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.
Thank you. So anybody remember what is the Sankarshana and Pradyumna?
Mataji, they are sons of Krishna.
Where do you come across these names? In the Goloka chart.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah.
Anybody remember where exactly we come across these names? In Vaikuntha Loka, that 7 avaranas will be there, no? So these are the expansions of Lord present over there. So whenever the Lord descends, he comes with all his associates, and these are free from that cycle of birth and death. They come to help him out in fulfilling all the actions. Yes. Next.
Mataji, may I?
May I, Mataji?
Anybody can read?
Mataji, may I?
Mataji, can I read, Mataji?
Yeah,
Sapna.
Sapna said she said she will read. Yeah, Sapna, please.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. As stated in Bhagavad Gita by the Lord himself, his birth, deeds and activities are all transcendental. Similarly, the birth, deeds and activities of associates of the Lord are also transcendental. And as it is an offense to consider oneself to be Krishna, so it is also offensive to consider oneself to be Yashoda, Nanda, or any other associate of the Lord. We should always remember that they are transcendental. The enemy of Kamsa has 64 transcendental qualities, and all of the ever liberated souls who accompany the Lord have the first 55 of the qualities without any doubt. Such devotees are related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in any of 5 transcendental mellows, namely neutrality, servitorship, friendship, parenthood, and conjugal love. These relationships with the Lord are eternal, and therefore Nitya Siddha devotees do not have to strive to attain the perfectional stage by executing regulative devotional principles. They are eternally qualified to serve Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Shall I continue, Mataji?
You can continue for 2 or 3 paragraphs.
Okay, ma'am. Chapter 26, Stimulation for Ecstatic Love. Some things that give impetus or a stimulation to ecstatic love of Krishna are his transcendental qualities. His uncommon activities, his smiling features, his apparel and garlands, his flute, his buffalo horn, his leg bells, his conch shell, his footprints, his places of pastime such as Vrindavana, his favorite plant Tulasi, his devotee, and the periodical occasions for remembering him. One such occasion for remembrance is Ekadashi, which comes twice a month on the 11th day of the moon, both waning and waxing. On that day, all the devotees remain fasting throughout the night and continuously chant the glories of the Lord. Krishna's transcendental qualities, his uncommon activities, and his smile. As far as Krishna's transcendental qualities are concerned, they can be divided into 3 groups: qualities pertaining to his transcendental body, qualities pertaining to his transcendental speech, and qualities pertaining to his transcendental mind. Krishna's age, his transcendental bodily features, his beauty, and his mildness are qualities pertaining to his body. There is no difference between Krishna and his body, and therefore the transcendental features pertaining to his body are the same as Krishna himself. But because these qualities stimulate the devotee's ecstatic love, they have been analyzed as separate causes of that love. To be attracted by the qualities of Krishna means to be attracted by Krishna himself. Because there is no real distinction between Krishna and his qualities. Krishna's name is also Krishna. Krishna's fame is also Krishna. Krishna's entourage is also Krishna. Krishna and everything related with Krishna that gives stimulation to love of Krishna are all Krishna. But for our understanding, these items may be considered separately. Krishna is a reservoir of all transcendental pleasure. Therefore, the impetuses to love of Krishna, although seemingly different, are not actually distinct from Krishna himself. In the technical Sanskrit terms, such qualities as Krishna's name and fame are accepted both as reservoirs of and as stimulation for love of Krishna. Krishna's age is considered in 3 periods. From his appearance day to the end of his 5th year is called Kaumara. From the beginning of 6th year up to the end of the 10th year is called Pauganda, and from the 11th to the end of 15th year is called Kaishora. After the beginning of 16th year, Krishna is called Yauvana or a youth, and this continues with no change. As far as Krishna's transcendental pastimes are concerned, they are mostly executed during the Kaumara, Pauganda, and Kaishora periods. His affectionate pastimes with his parents are executed during his Kaumara age. His friendship with the cowherd boys is exhibited during the Pauganda period, and his friendship with the gopis is exhibited during the age of Kaishora. Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavana are finished by the end of his 15th year, and he is transferred to Madura and Dwaraka, where all other pastimes are performed. Srila Rupa Goswami gives us a vivid description of Krishna as a reservoir of all pleasure in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Here are some parts of that description.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Can I read, Mataji?
I think you have finished Sai Gitika. Somebody else can read.
May I continue, Mataji?
You did once?
No, Mataji.
Okay, fine.
Krishna Kishora age may be divided into 3 parts. In the beginning of his Kishora age, that is at the beginning of his 11th year, the luster of his body becomes so bright that it becomes an impetus for ecstatic love. Similarly, there are reddish borders around his eyes and a growth of soft hair on his body. It's describing that his early stage of his Kishora age, Kundalta, one of the residents of Vrindavan, said to her friend, "My dear friend, I have just seen an extraordinary beauty appearing in a person of Krishna. His blackish bodily hue appears just like a Indrina jewel. There are reddish sign of his eyes, and small soft tears are coming out on his body. The appearance of these symptoms had made him extraordinarily beautiful. In this connection, in the 10th canto, 21st chapter, verse 5 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukdeva Goswami tells King Parikshit, "My dear king, I shall try to describe how the mind of the gopis became absorbed in thought of Krishna. The gopis would meditate on Krishna dressing himself just like on dancing actor and entering the forest of Vrindavan, marking the ground with his footprints. They meditated on Krishna having a helmet with a peacock feather and wearing earring on his ears and yellow gold color garments covered with jewels and pearls. They also meditated on Krishna's blowing his flute and all the cowherd boys signing of the glories of the Lord. This is
Singing.
that description of the meditation that the gopis used to perform. Sometimes the gopi will think about his soft nails, his moving eyebrows, and his teeth, which were catchy colored from chewing pain. One description was given by a gopi to a friend. "My dear friend, just see how many enemy of Aga has assumed such wonderful features. His, his brows are just like the bow of Cupid, and they are moving just as though they were dancing. The tips of his nails are so soft, it is as if they were dried bamboo leaves. His teeth are reddish, so it appears he has assumed a feather of anger. Under the circumstances, where is the chance of a young girl not to be attracted by such beautiful features and not to be afraid of becoming a victim to such beauty? Krishna attractive features are also described by Vrinda, the gopi after whom Vrindavana was named. She told Krishna, my dear Madhava, your newly invented smile has so captivated the hearts of the gopi that they are simply unable to express themselves. As such, they have become bewildered and will not talk with others. All of these gopis have become so affected that it is as if they have offered three sprinkles of water upon their lives. In other words, they have given up all hope for all living condition. According to the Indian system, when a person is dead, there is a sprinkling of water on the body. Thus, the statement of Vrinda shows that the gopi was so enchanted by the beauty of Krishna that because they could not express their minds, they decided to commit suicide. When Krishna arrived at the age of 13 to 14 years, his two arms and chest assumed an unspeakable beauty, and his whole form became simply enchanted. When Krishna attained 13 years of age, his two thighs were challenging the trunks of elephant. His rising chest was trying to come to peace, talk to doors of jewels, and his two arms were minimizing the value of the bowls found on doors. Who can describe the wonderful beauty of these features of Krishna? The special beauty of Krishna body was his mild smiling, his restless eyes, and his wonderful enchanting song. These are the special features of this age. There is a statement in this connection on that Krishna, on arriving at the age, manifested such beautiful bodily features that is his restless eyes becoming the playing things of Cupid, and his smile resemble the newly grown lotus flower. The enchanting vibration of this song become a great impediment to the young girls who were supposed to remain chaste and faithful to their husbands. At this age, Krishna enjoyed the Ras Leela, exhibiting his power of joking with the cowherd girls and enjoying their company in the bushes of the garden by the bank of the Yamuna. In this connection, there's a flowing statement. Throughout, while the whole tract of land known as Vrindavana, there were some footprints of Krishna's in the Gopi, and the same places peacock feathers was true about. In some places, there were nice beddings in the bushes of the Vrindavan garden, and in some places, there were piles of dust due to the group dancing of Govinda and the gopis. So these are some of the features which are due to different pastime invented by Sri Krishna, place known as Vrindavan. There is following statement by one gopi describing Krishna attractive features during this age. "My dear friend, just see how all the sudden the sky of Krishna, there's a powerful rising sun, and how this rising sun is minimizing the rays of a chasing moon. Our attraction of Krishna is so intense that it is drying up with the lotus flower of our discrimination, and we are losing the senses in deciding whether we shall continue as stay as women or to victimized by the beauty of Krishna, my dear friend. I think that we have lost all hope of life. In the Kishora age, beginning from the 11th year and continue to the end of 15 years, Krishna arms, legs, thigh become marked with a three-dimensional lines, divisional lines. At the time, Krishna chest challenged the hill of Marakata jewel, his arms challenging pillars of the Indranila jewel, and the three of his waist challenging the waves of the river Yamuna, and his thigh challenging beautiful bananas. Off on one gopi said, with all these exquisite features of his body, Krishna is too extraordinarily beautiful, and therefore I am always thinking of him to protect me because he is the killer of all demons. The idea expressed in the statement is that the gopi were comparing their attraction for Krishna to an attack by demon, and to counteract their attraction for the beauty of Krishna, they was also turning to Krishna hopefully because he's a killer of all kinds of demon. In other words, they were perplexed because by one hand they were attracted by the beauty of Krishna, and on the other they needed Krishna to drive away the demon of such attraction. This Kishora age can be translated as adolescence. At the end of this period, all the gopis said Krishna is a killer of the attraction of Cupid, and such he describes it disturbs the patience of all newly married girls. Krishna bodily feature have become so exquisite. It is as if they were all manifesting an artistic sense of the highest sort. His dancing eyes have deemed the brilliance of the most expert dancer, and so there is no longer any comparison of the beauty of Krishna. Learned scholar therefore describe the features of his body at the time as Navayavna, newly independent youthfulness. At this stage of Krishna's bodily features, the conjugal love affairs with the gopis and the similar pastime becomes very prominent. There are six features of conjugal love affairs called peacemaking, picking a quarrel, going to meet one's lover, sitting together, separation and support. Lord Krishna expanded an empire of these six features, of which he was ruling prince. Somewhere he was picking quarrels with the young girls, somewhere he was scratching them with the nails of parrots, somewhere he was busy going to visit the gopis, and somewhere he was negotiating through coward friends to take shelter of the gopis. Some of these gopi address him thus, Dear Krishna, because of your adolescent age, you have just become the spiritual master of these young girls. You are teaching them to whisper among themselves. You are teaching them to offer solemn prayer, as well as training them to cheat their husbands and to join you in the garden at the night without caring for the instructions of the superiors. You are enthusiasting them by the vibration of an enchanting flute, and as their teacher, you are teaching them all the intricacies of love affairs. It is that even when Krishna was a boy of 5, he manifested such beautiful energies. But learned scholars do not explain them because of the absence of suitable age. Krishna was beautiful because every part of his body was perfectly arranged without any defect. Such perfect bodily features of Krishna are described as follow. My dear enemy of Kansa, your broad eyes, your rising chest, your two pillar-like arms, and a thin middle portion of your body are always enchanting to you. Every lotus-eyed beautiful girl. The ornaments of the body of Krishna were not actually enchanting his beauty, but just the reverse. The ornaments were beautified by Krishna. A person is called mild when he cannot even bear the touch of the most softening thing. It is described that every part of the Krishna body was soft, and even at the touch of the newly grown leaves, that the color of the touched part of his skin will change. At the Kishora age, Krishna endeavors were always bent towards arranging the rasa dance as well as towards killing of demons in the forest of Vrindavan. While Krishna was engaged in enjoyment with the boys and girls within the forest of Vrindavan, Kamsa used to send his associations to kill Krishna, and the Krishna will show his powers by killing them.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Rachaita, can you read next?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, before that, I think Sapna has some doubt. Sapna, yes. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Sapna, are you there?
Mataji, may I continue?
Mataji, she has left.
Okay. Fine. No problem. Chalo. Okay. Rachita, you can continue.
Krishna's apparel and garlands. Generally, there are 4 kinds of garments on the body of Krishna: his shirt, turban, belt, and wearing garments. In Vrindavana, he used to put on reddish garments with a golden shirt on his body and an orange colored turban on his head. The different kinds of bells combined with his enchanting smile used to always increase the transcendental bliss of his associates. The dress of Krishna is described as gorgeous, as a baby elephant is sometimes dressed in colorful clothing. So, Krishna's gorgeousness was manifested by decoration with such colorful clothing on the different parts of his body. A kalpa refers to the texture of Krishna's hair. His nicely dressed body, ointed with sandalwood pulp and decorated with flower garlands, his tilaka and his chewing pan. Krishna was decorated constantly in his kalpa process. Krishna's hair was sometimes decorated with flowers placed on the middle of his head, or else it was reaching down to his back. In this way, Krishna dressed his head differently at different times. As for the ointment on his body, the pulp of sandalwood generally appeared to be white, and when it was mixed with saffron dye, it appeared yellow. Krishna used to put a Vaijanti garland around his neck. This Vaijanti garland is made of flowers of at least 5 different colors. Such garlands was always long enough to touch Krishna's knees or feet. Besides this garland of flowers, there were other kinds of flower garlands too, sometimes decorating his head, sometimes hanging around his neck and chest. Artistic paintings with sandalwood pulp and colored sandalwood were also to be found on the body of Krishna. One gopi addressed her friend and began to praise the bodily features of Krishna. She praised his blackish complexion, the reddish color of chewing pan, enhancing his beauty hundreds of times, the curling hair on his head, the kunkuma, red spots on his body, and the tilaka on his forehead. Kunkuma is a sweetly flavored reddish powder that is thrown on the bodies of worshipable persons. His helmet, his earrings, his necklace, his 4 garments, his bangle on his head, his rings on his finger, his ankle bells, and his flute. These are the different features of Krishna's ornaments. Krishna, the enemy of Agha, always looked beautiful with his incomparable helmet, his earrings made of diamond, his necklace of pearls, his bangles, his embroidered garments, and the beautiful rings on his fingers. Krishna is sometimes called Vanamali. Vana means forest and Mali means gardener. So Vanamali refers to one who extensively uses flowers and garlands on different parts of his body. Krishna was dressed like not only in Vrindavana but also on the Battle of Kurukshetra. But seeing such colorful dress and the garlands of different flowers, some sages prayed Lord Krishna was going to the battlefield not to fight, but to grace all of the devotees with his presence. Krishna's flute. As far as his flute is concerned, it is said that the vibration of this wonderful instrument was able to break the meditation of the greatest sages. Krishna was thus challenging Cupid by advertising his transcendent goals all over the world. There are 3 kinds of flutes used by Krishna. One is Venu, one is called Murali, and the third is called Vamsi. Venu is very small, which is not more than 6 inches tall, with 6 holes for whistling. Murali is about 18 inches long, with a hole at the end and 4 holes on the body of the flute. Thus, the kind of flute produces a very enchanting sound. The Vamsi flute is about 15 inches long with 9 holes on its body. Krishna used to play on these 3 flutes occasionally when they were needed. Krishna has a longer Vamsi which is called Mahananda or Sammohini, which is when it is still longer, it is called Akarshini. Akarshini. When it is even longer, it is called Anadini. The Anadini flute is very pleasing to the cowherd boys and it is technically named Vamsuli. These flutes were sometimes bedecked with jewels, sometimes they were made of marble, sometimes of hollow bamboo. When the flute is made of jewels, it is called Sammohini. So it's when made of gold, it is called Akarshini.
Very nice, no, Racheta? This is very nice.
Beautiful.
Isn't it?
Beautiful.
Venu Murali Vamshi. Okay, nice, no? Venu is a small one, 6 inches long, 6 holes for whistling. Murali is 18 inches long with a hole at the end and 4 holes in the body of the fluid. And the Vamshi is a 15-inch long and the 9 holes on its body. Very nice.
Yes, Mataji, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Krishna's buffalo horn. Krishna used a buffalo horn as a bugling instrument. This instrument was always highly polished and circled with gold bands. On the middle there was a hole. Regarding these instruments, there is a metaphorical statement about a gopi called Taravali. It is said that Taravali was bitten by the most venomous snake of Krishna's flute. Then, in order to neutralize the poisonous effect, she drank the milk produced by the buffalo horn in the hand of Krishna. But instead of decreasing the poisonous effect, it increased it 1,000 times. So the gopi was thus put into the miserable poison condition.
Next.
The attraction of Krishna's leg bells. A certain gopi once stated to her friend, "My dear friend, when I heard the sound of the leg bells of Sri Krishna, I immediately started to go out of the house to see him. But most regrettably, my superiors were present before me just at the time, and I could not go out." Krishna's conch shell. Krishna's conch shell is called Panchajanya. Panchajanya conch is also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna sounded it before the battle of Kurukshetra. It is said that when Lord Krishna blows off his transcendental conch shell, the wives of demons become subject to abortions. The wives of the demigods become blessed with all the auspiciousness. In this way, the sound of Krishna's conch shell used to vibrate and circulate all over the world. Krishna's footprints. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam that when Akura, who drove Krishna from Vrindavana to Mathura, saw the footprints of Krishna on the land of Vrindavana, his ecstatic love for Krishna increased so much that the hairs on his body stood up. His eyes became overflooded with tears, and in such ecstasy, he jumped out of the chariot, fell down on the ground, and began to chant, "How wonderful this is! How wonderful this is!" Similar feelings were expressed by the gopis when they were going to the bank of Yamuna and say Krishna's footprints in the dust. When Krishna walked on the ground of Vrindavana, the marks of his soul flag, thunderbolt, fish, a rod for controlling elephants, and a lotus flower would be imprinted upon the dust of the land. The gopis became overwhelmed simply at seeing those marks on the ground. Krishna's places of pastimes. One devotee has exclaimed, "Oh, I have not as yet visited the wonderful places where the pastimes of the Lord were performed, but simply by hearing the name of Mathura, I become overwhelmed with joy." Krishna's favorite plant is Tulsi. Lord Krishna is very fond of tulsi leaves and buds. because tulsi buds are usually offered up to the lotus feet of Krishna. A devotee once prayed to the tulsi buds to give him some information about the lotus feet of the Lord. The devotee expected that the tulsi buds would know something about the glories of Lord Sri Krishna's lotus feet. Sri Krishna's devotees, one may sometimes become overwhelmed with joy by seeing such a devotee of the Lord. When Dhruva Maharaja saw two associates of Narayana approaching him, he immediately stood up out of sincere respect and devotion and remained before them with folded hands. But because of his ecstatic love, he could hardly offer them a proper reception. There's a statement by a gopi who addressed Subala, a friend of Krishna. My dear Subala, I know that Krishna is your friend and that you always enjoy smiling and joking with him. The other day I saw both standing together. You were keeping your hand on Krishna's shoulder and both of you were joyfully smiling. When I saw the two of you standing like that in the distance, my eyes at once became overflooded with tears. Special days for remembering Krishna. The statements about the festive days in connection with Krishna's different activities. One of the festive days is Janmashtami, the day of Krishna's birth. This Janmashtami day is the most opulent festival for the devotees. It is still observed with great pomp in every Hindu house in India. Sometimes even the devotees of other religious groups take advantage of this auspicious day, enjoy the performance of the ceremony of Janmashtami, as ecstatic love for Krishna is also aroused on the days of Ekadasi, which are other festive days in connection with Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. It's very beautiful, no?
Yes, Mataji.
The more you're reading, everything is just, you could see that in front of you. So for me, it's looking like that. Hare Krishna. Yes. Who wanted to read next?
Mataji, shall I, Mataji?
Sapna, you had some doubt?
Yes, Mataji. There was this line that after one of the Gopi Vrindavana was named, but my doubt is, Mataji, many gopis had a wonderful time with Krishna, but why, especially after this Gopi named Vrinda, the name of the land was changed to Vrindavana. Is there any special pastimes for that, something like that, Mataji?
Must be. Even I need to read about it.
Okay, Mataji. If you come to know, can you tell me, Mataji?
Yes. I'll
Thank
get
you,
back
Mataji.
next week.
Yes, Mataji. Can I read, Mataji?
Yes.
Symptoms of ecstatic love. The bodily symptoms manifested by a devotee in expressing ecstatic love for Krishna are called Anubhava. Practical examples of Anubhava are as follows: dancing, rolling on the ground, singing very loudly, stretching the body, crying loudly, yawning, breathing very heavily, neglecting the presence of others, drooling, laughing like a madman, wheeling the head, and belching. When there is an extraordinary excess of ecstatic love with all of these bodily symptoms manifested, one feels relief transcendentally. These symptoms are divided into two parts. One is called Sita and the other is called Shepana. When there is yawning, the symptoms are called Sita, and when there is dancing, they are called Shepana, dancing. While watching the Rasa dance performed by Lord Krishna and the gopis, Lord Shiva beheld the beautiful face of Krishna and immediately began to dance and beat upon his small dindima drum. While Lord Shiva was dancing in ecstasy, his eldest son Ganesha joined him. Rolling on the ground in the third canto, first chapter, verse 32 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Vidura inquires from Uddhava, my dear friend, is Akrura in an auspicious condition? Not only is he a learned scholar and sinless, but he is also a devotee of Lord Krishna. He has such ecstatic love for Krishna that I have seen him rolling upon Krishna's footprints in the dust as if bereft of all senses. Similarly, one gopi gave a massage to Krishna. that Radharani, because of her separation from him and because of her enchantment with the aroma of his flower garlands, was rolling on the ground, thereby bruising her soft body. Singing loudly, one gopi informed Krishna that when Srimati Radharani was singing about his glory, she enchanted all of her friends in such a way that they become stone-like and dull. At the same time, the nearby stones began to melt away in ecstatic love. When Narada Muni was chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, he chanted so loudly that it was apprehended that Lord Narsimha had appeared. Thus, all the demons began to flee in different directions, stretching the body. It is said that sometimes when Narada, the carrier of Veena, remembers his Lord Krishna in great ecstasy, he begins to stretch his body so vigorously that his sacred Devi once said to Krishna, "My dear son of Nanda Maharaj, by the sound of your flute, Srimati Radharani has become full of lamentation and fear, and thus with a faltering voice, she is crying like a kurari bird." It is described that by hearing the vibration of Krishna's flute, Lord Shiva becomes very puzzled and begins to cry so loudly into space that the demons become vanquished and the devotees become overwhelmed with joy. Yawning. It is said that when the full moon rises, the lotus petals becomes expanded. Similarly, when Krishna used to appear before Radharani, her face, which is compared to the lotus flower, would expand by her yawning.
Hare
Breathing.
Krishna. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Mataji.
Somebody else can read.
May I read, Mataji?
Yes.
Breathing heavily. As far as breathing heavily is concerned, it is stated, Lalita, one of the gopis is just like the catred bird, which only takes water falling directly from the rain cloud and not from any other source. In this statement, Krishna is compared to the dark cloud, and the Lalita is compared to the catred bird is seeking on the
Chataki.
Krishna's company.
It is
Yes,
called
Mataji?
Chataki.
Chataki bird is seeking on the Krishna's company. The metaphor continues to say, as a heavy wind sometimes disperse a mighty cloud, so on the heavy breath from Lalita's nostril caused her to miss Krishna, who had disappeared by the time she recovered herself. Very beautiful line. Neglecting the presence of others. As far as neglecting the presence of others is concerned, the wives of the Brahmins who were performing sacrifices at Vrindavan left home as soon as they heard that Krishna was nearby. They left their homes without caring for their learned husbands. The husbands began to discuss among their homes without the husband began to discuss among themselves how wonderful is the attraction for Krishna that it has made these women leave us without any care. This is the influence of Krishna. Anyone who becomes attracted to Krishna can be relieved from the bondage of birth and death, which can be compared to the locked up homes that were neglected by the wives of the Brahmins. In the Udveti, there was a statement by some devotee: we shall not take care for any outsider. If they should ride us, we shall still not care for them. We shall simply enjoy the transcendental mellows of chanting Hare Krishna, and thus we shall roll on the ground and dance ecstatically. In this way, we shall eternally enjoy transcendental bliss. Trolling. As an example of the running down of saliva from the mouth, it is still that sometimes when Narada Muni was chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, he remained stunned for a while and saliva oozed from his mouth, laughing like a madman. When the devotee laughed very loudly like a madman, it is done out of an extraordinary agitation of ecstatic love within the herd. Such made laughing. This is an expression of the condition of the herd that is technically called athasa. When a devotee becomes affected by his mental condition, his love is expressed through the lips. The laughing sounds coming from after another are compared to flowers falling from the creeper of devotion that grows within the heart of the devotee. In the Chaitanya,
Charitamrita.
what is this, Mataji?
Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Chaitanya Charitamrita, devotional service to the Lord is also compared to the vapor that rise up to the lotus feet of the Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. Wailing of the head, one gopi told her friend, it appears that Lord Krishna, the enemy of the demon Ag, has released from his mouth a real wine which is actually on his head and is gradually proceeding to do the sum of the other lotus-eyed gopis. Belching. Sometimes belching also becomes a symptom of ecstatic love for Krishna. This is the evidence of this in the Purana. What is this? Purana Masi. It's Pranamasi Mataji.
Yes.
Pranamasi addressed to one cry associate of Radharani, my dear daughter, do not be worried because Srimati Radharani is belching. I'm about to offer remedial measure for the symptom. Do not cry so loudly. This belching, it's belching na?
Yes.
Yeah. This belching is not due to indigestion. It is a sign of ecstatic love for Krishna. I shall arrange to cure this belching symptom immediately. Do not be worried. This statement by Pranamasi is evidence that ecstatic love for Krishna is sometimes manifested to belching. Sometimes trembling of the whole body and harum from
No,
some part of the body.
hemorrhaging. Hemorrhaging means bleeding.
Or some part of the body are also manifested in response to ecstatic love for Krishna, but such symptoms are very rare, and therefore Srila Rupa Goswami does not discuss any further on this point. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Most of the points are medically covered. I don't know. We have to relate it to Krishna's ecstatic.
Mataji, what exactly is belching, Mataji?
Can somebody say what is belching? In Hindi, they say Dakar, no?
Burp.
Yeah, burping. Exactly.
The most beautiful line, that was a metaphor. I really like it. That one.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice. I think this
Mataji, what did Racheta Mataji say? I was not able to hear properly.
burping.
Oh, okay. Okay, Mataji.
Yeah, this we'll read next week.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, anybody wanted to read? I think enough for today. No? I think Sai Geetika is ready with some presentation. You wanted to do it?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, I'll make you co-host.
Yes, Mataji.
Mataji, in the group we got 2 certificates actually of the same date. So I was little inquisitive
I
about
didn't check actually. I just forwarded it in the group. Because one was Ravichira Prabhuji, he forgotten actually.
Oh, okay.
I called
Mataji, can you see
him.
my screen?
Yeah.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. I'll present it in a slide. 1 second. Yes.
So is it on the same date?
Yes, Mataji. I actually forwarded to
Is
you.
it in slideshow mode now?
Yes, Gita Mataji.
Yeah, thank you, Rachita. Explain the analogy of the sun's 3 features. Yes, Mataji. Yeah. This is the analogy of the analogy to explain the 3 aspects of the Supreme Brahma Jyoti, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. Knowing just the light of the sun is compared to knowing the Brahma Jyoti, surface of the sun, or the sun disk to the Paramatma, and Bhagwan to the planet. Explain the analogy. Oh, 1 second. Yeah. Explain the analogy of watering the root analogy. So the answer is, by watering the roots of a tree, one automatically distributes water to the leaves and branches. So by acting in Krishna consciousness, one can render the highest service to everyone, namely self, family, society, country, humanity, etc. If Krishna is satisfied by one's action, then everybody will be satisfied. Explain the analogy of the boat on water. As strong as wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away man's intelligence. So as you can see in the picture, the boat is the man's intelligence and the water is the roaming senses here. Explain the Explain the process of transfiguration with reference to specific Sanskrit words and phrases. Since every living entity is an individual soul, each is changing his body every moment, manifesting sometimes as a child, sometimes as a youth, and sometimes as an old man. Yet the same spirit soul is there and does not undergo any change. This individual soul finally changes the body at death and transmigrates to another body. And since it is sure to have another body in the next birth, either material or spiritual, there was no cause for lamentation by Arjuna on account of death, neither for Bhishma nor for Drona, for whom he was so much concerned. Rather, he should rejoice for their changing bodies from old to new ones, thereby rejuvenating their energy. Such changes of body account for varieties of enjoyments or suffering according to one's work in life. So Bhishma and Drona, being noble souls, were surely going to have spiritual bodies in their next life, or at least life in heavenly bodies for superior enjoyment of material existence. So in either case, there was no cause of lamentation. Any man who has perfect knowledge of the most constitution of the individual soul, the super soul and nature, both material and spiritual, is called a dhira, or a most sober man. Such a man is never deluded by the change of the bodies. Mataji, and this is the next slide.
Okay.
And this is the soul transmigration. That's Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nice attempt, Ma. At least you have covered few questions.
Yeah, Mataji. Actually, you told like one question from the open book essay and two for the closed book essay, Mataji. So I took 3 from a short answer and 1 open book essay, Mataji.
Yeah, very nice, very nice.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you. Hare.
Hare Krishna. Okay, shall we conclude for today?
Yes, Mataji.
Who is going to recite Narsimharti?
May I, Mataji?
Yeah, okay.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah. Namaste Narasimhaya Praladadayine Hiranyakashipurvakshaha Shilatankanakalaye Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimho Yato yami tato narsimho Bahe narsimho Hridaye narsimho Narasimha madim sharanam prapade Tava kara kamalavare Nakam adbhuta shringam Dalita hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Narsimhadev Jaya Narsimhadev Narsimhadev Jaya Narsimhadev Jaya Prabhu Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Vaibhav, you got that clarity over that PowerPoint presentation for upcoming
No,
Ekadashi?
Mataji. Yeah. No, Mataji.
Okay. You send me a hello message in WhatsApp. Okay. I'll send
Okay, then.
that material to you so that you can work on that.
Okay, Mataji.
Okay. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Thank you, co-host and participant, for your active participation. See you all next week, and Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, ma'am.
Hare
Mataji, I have a question, Mataji. Actually.
Yes.
Last time we made the PPT, it's like that only, Mataji. You have to do the, it's only the same.
Yes.
How
So
much slides we have to do in that?
simply like how Sai Kitika prepared, no, that much is enough. But it should be more explanatory rather than just reading the lines, you know.
Yeah.
Choose another questions. What she has chosen. Apart from that, the remaining ones you should choose.
I'll ask with Vaishnavi Mataji, which is selected, which is completed. Okay.
I think Sai Gitika, you can post in the group what all questions you have discussed today.
Okay, Mataji.
So that other people will come, they will omit that questions and they'll prepare for the rest of the
Okay,
questions.
Mataji. So I should send the questions which I have done for the PPT. Okay, Mataji,
Yes.
I'll do that.
Okay, okay, fine.
Okay,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna.